Welcome to the Mantic Universe podcast for a new series of Mantic, how to start. And the first episode of the series will be about 3D printing in Resin. And we have here with Menai, because he started about half a year ago with his 3D printing hobbies. So we are talking a little bit about his experience and what the do's and don'ts for beginners and his recommendation to start this wonderful hobby to get another Mantic army on the table. So, hello, Menai.
Hi, Matthias. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So, yeah, what's the main point about is resin printing is, well, not a niche anymore. It started to get very well commercial. 3D printers are cheap. They are look promising now, good results, and you see a lot of people showing stuff up with not everyone showing off the bad parts, as I say, so all the workaround of it. And so the talking points, first off, why to buy a printer at all? What's the main benefit you get out for your hobby?
For me, it was the option to print individual armies. I want to be creative with my armies, and I like it to have special models and everything. I started half a year ago with Circali. I
Yeah.
like the army, I like the design, but I don't like his dogs. I'm a cat person. Hi, kitty.
Yeah.
And so I just decided to not make the Circali a dog army. I decided to make it a lion and cat army. And not with a brotherhood, but with a sisterhood.
Yeah.
So I flipped both sides of the army. That is my army principle, and that's what I needed 3D printing for, to have that freedom. Even if I go to army that I have a lot of from Mantic, my Trident Realms army, I have some 3D printed models in there, like the Trident King before he was available. I had my friend printed that for me, and I had an individual model for that.
Yeah.
And I like that option to have to say, I want this model to be that figure in game, and I like that. And I also like that about Mantic, that they're not mad about if you use off-brand models.
Yeah.
As to say, so that's a big plus point for me to buy
Mm.
Kings of War and to play Kings of War. That they're genuine
Yeah.
with them.
Yeah, in a very ideal world, you play Kings of War with Mantic models. In an almost ideal world, you just play Kings of War with whatever models you like. And the worst case is you don't play Kings of War or Firefight in that case. And
Yes.
so, well, so 3D printing helps. I mean, it's an interesting point because for me, I don't have the resin printer. I just have people like you who print stuff for me if I need something. And I'm always in need for special items because I use the resin part mostly to replace the previous generation of cast resin conversion bits. Like a lot, this was like when I started the hobby, the main source for conversion were metal parts, mainly because this was the easiest one to do for a
Yes.
lot of people. And you had literally people at home started metal casting, like making a green stuff sculpt, making a form, get the equipment, and then cast your own metal parts because you needed 10 times that weapon. So the easiest way to do it. And during my time in the hobby, this was then widely replaced with resin. because metal got expensive, it's dangerous to a point, it's not cheap, and then resin casting at home came up. Silicone molds became cheaper, or the silicone could be bought in the hardware store and things like that. And so people started resin casting at home, and it was like so that generation of parts. And now 3D printing more or less replaced that thing, so nobody's doing resin casting anymore, at least not at home. There's still some companies out there doing the resin bits in casted resin, because it's still cheaper if you have a high volume of bits to sell around. And mostly I switched for 3D printing. And this is where I draw the hobby from. If I need an optional weapon, additional heads, and upper bodies, lower body parts, it's the 3D printing for me. Not doing a full army yet, but we will see. Salamanders look tempting for Kings of War with their full STL army, and also for Firefight. Maybe, but I'm like, how to say? I like to do my conversions by hand and not in Blender. So I'm really just happy with having the individual bits around and mesh them together as I like, instead of just having a conversion in 3D and then print the converted model out. So yeah. So this is, how to say, a good addition to the hobby, no matter where you're coming from and what you're doing from. And it replaced like the previous more messy options and more niche things in getting your bits and conversion parts done. So well, it's a good time for this kind of, because it's, I would say, it's still its own hobby to a point, and its own workforce. So
Definitely.
how much time do you spend with the 3D printer in general?
I spend. It really depends. The last month was less. Before that, I spent a lot. Generally, at the start, it was a lot with learning how to do support and what to do. I spent a lot, like 4 hours a day, to get my models ready for the army to print. And the printer was running behind it, and I already prepared the next plates, what I wanted to print, and it took me long. I got faster with that, and now I just need about an hour to prepare a plate and say, okay, that is what I want to print, and that is ready, and I know that comes out of the printer as I see it on my screen at the PC. And if I send it over,
so
I get that.
For everyone who just says, I want a 3D printer to print a single army and be done with it, expect a lot of time you need to invest to get it right and get it done the first time. So it's the second army that will actually work for you, not the first one, more or less. So just buying a 3D printer for a single army and then sell it again might be an option, but expect it to be a lot more work until you get the flow right and things like this. So talking about selling your printer, you got the used one.
Yes, a friend of mine was in the 3D printing hobby. Pretty deep. He also knows all the technical details. I never bothered with them, I must say. He just showed me the important parts. I did some slicer work before I bought the 3D printer from him. He said in Hitbox, that version, that's also what I use. Use that and do what you like, and I take a look over, and then we can print it. So I made like 1 or 2 plates there. He had some work to do because I didn't know all the details, but I did some support work and everything beforehand before I bought it from him. But he's also into airsoft, and he's also into motorcycles, and so he said 3 expensive hobbies are too much, so he's giving one off, and I bought the 3D printer from him, and that's how I came to it.
Yeah, so you got the Elegu Mars, the regular one. Um,
Yes.
it's still the number 4, if I
Yeah.
recall correctly. So Mars 4, like the traditional entry level printer that is still around. It's very often on sale because it's the last generation of the printer, and yeah, perfectly fine to print, and you don't always need the latest tech or the best advertising on it, because I guess the everything is fine and still works perfect for model printing.
Yes. That you just need a cheap model to start the hobby, because in like every hobby you need to expect things to break. You will make some mistakes, and if you start with a super high-end printer, those mistakes can get very, very costly, up to, yeah, the printer's gone, and then
Yeah,
you spent like $800 on the printer and now it's gone. And I spent $200 on my Mars 4, and I got an old Ender filament printer also thrown in the deal. So
yeah. So this is
I
like,
got a pretty decent deal from it.
yeah. So for filament printing, dear listener, if you're interested, there will be another episode focused on how to start with FDM printing. In that, and so if you have any specific question for that one, leave a comment and we will forward it to cover it in the next episode. And so just for me to cover some details about printing in general. So those, well, last generation small printers go in a usual price range between, I think it's 200 to 250, 300 euros, and dollar equivalent. It's a decent price. It's a decent sized machine. So you don't get a full army on it, but this isn't necessary, as you spend a lot of time preparing the models. And in the meanwhile, the printer can do that. And so you have a different workflow than with having to prepare all your models before they go on the large print bed size. And also sometimes, and this is like I've heard for other persons, is when you have the larger printer, it feels wasted not doing a full plate, and then they try to get enough models or print models they don't really need and wait until they have everything done to fill up the plate and print before it started. So this is a more convenient one. I think the Mars 4 is advertised as a 9K printer. In that, you see, dear listener, there's a lot of those high numbers around, and you have a 2K to 12 or 16K at the moment, and this is the screen resolution, so the XY resolution of the UV screen and build plate that is in there. And obviously, for a larger printer, the resolution must be higher because the screen is bigger. This doesn't mean that your screen or your bigger printer with 12K is more detailed or prints better than a smaller one with 9K. It just means it's could even be worse, just because this larger build plate needs a bigger screen, and the screen therefore has a bigger resolution. Like the 9K Mars 4 is because it's 8500 by 4300, so 18 by 18 micrometer pixels. That's why they call it 9K screen. Could be when this is even a smaller printer, it could be a 4K screen and still have the same 18 by 18 resolution for it with the same details. So don't get you, how to say, spoiled with higher numbers. But look into the details. Smaller printer have lower numbers by default, larger printer, larger numbers, and those will still be similar in quality. I don't want to say equal, because now some of those who are experts in 3D printing will come up, but actually that's not all to it, but we want to keep it simple for beginners, as it's an how to start episode. Well, and then you have the screen material, and usually there's UV protecting hood on this. The difference between the Ultra and the regular Mars is the one is with glass and the other one is plastic. So and some other details between the models. So the Mars 4, perfectly fine to start. I think even in case a Mars 3, if you can get them used and for cheap, is still a good model to start with the hobby. Right. So what else do we need?
We need aftercare for the models because only to print them is only half the work. You need something to wash that resin off. That resin is actually quite toxic. You see there my wash and cure station. That up on top is a box. You can fill it with water or isopropanol alcohol. We come later to it, but water was my choice for resin. You wash it. You need you print it in liquid resin, so the whole model is sticky with liquid resin. Even if you let it rip, there's still some left. It's really sticky. It's resin. It's like a three resin, as you say, but it sticks.
Yeah.
And there's magnet on the bottom that swirls the water around and washes and dissolves all that liquid resin. So they are safer to touch. But what also to do is you need to get the supports off and then cure it. Curing means the model is not fully hardened as it comes out of the printer. It's soft, it's still sticky, it's sticky to the touch, and it's not finished the model. The printer doesn't give you a finished model. You need to cure it so that it's usable to solidify the resin for end use.
Yeah. So in that case, this is like how to say the English word? I think the magnetic stirrer.
Yes.
In German, you get a Magnetröhrer. It's a standard lab equipment, especially in chemistry things, and those work by having like a magnet turning on the lower side, and then you can put a magnet into your whatever your package is, if it says glass, plastic, and then the small magnet will squirrel in and keep the liquid moving, so that really gets in cleaning. I think the washing clean is a lot of people miss because they say just buy a regular magnetic stirrer, buy the plastic bottle and then do it. But its case it's just, I'm not sure if this gets cheaper if you buy something from the hardware store or of Amazon, because I think the wash and cure bundle is about €100 roughly. Original price, if you buy it used, it should be less.
I think let me look that up. I think that small one is 60.
Yeah, okay.
50 or 60. That's what I have here, and that's totally enough. And I don't think you get any cheaper.
Yeah, you're right. It's 60 for the small one, and the €100 is already the big one, like when you print larger models. And yeah, so there's that. I think it's going with a wash and cure. This is something where people try to save a lot of try to save money. It's not. It's a lot. It's still a lot. €100 will always be a lot when you start things, but then it's just you get a better workflow with it. It's much easier to handle and gives better result in general. It's also easier to handle because with the lid you can keep things in there. It's not stinking. It's the overall handling is much better than when you improvise things on your own and it's still not doing things. So this is
definitely
worth getting. So this is like the hidden cost in 3D printing when someone just €100 or €200 when someone get to you and say, oh, I sell you a used printer, €50, it's done, get printing, and then you have this hidden cost of, but you need a wash and cure. You can improvise it, but it won't be cheap either, and this is like the $60 on top of it. to get the job done. So
Yeah.
like this, I won't call it essential, but this is like the best thing or the next best thing you get after you bought your printer.
Yeah. I mean, if you get another printer, you can still use it. You probably only need one if you get the big one. That's a one and done deal. But yeah, you need at least one or something equivalent. My friend used ultrasonic washing basin to get the resin off.
Yeah.
And cured it with a 3D lamp. But I don't think he got cheaper from that. I see the
Well,
use
if
of a sonic washing base if you have hollowed models, because then it's a bit better. But if you're only printing solid models for an army, that thing will do.
So I'm now just looking up the ultrasonic, so I don't say anything. Yeah, it's the point is the ultrasonic part. You get very small ones for cleaning glasses, rings, and things like that. They go roughly about those 20 to 30 euros, sometimes less. But once you want the proper ones that are large enough to actually use for resin models and have this are not plastic but stainless steel on the inside, so they don't get damaged with chemicals, you're also looking about 100 euros.
Yeah.
So it's not cheaper to get something like this. You maybe get some of the smaller ones for 60 or 70 euros, but then it's like similar price in this range if you get the container and the wash and cure from like 3D supply, whatever brand it is in that case.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are the obvious ones. What else do we need? It's
we need some supplies here. Paper, you will spill, and you need a lot of paper. I got mechanic roll. It's just the blue paper they have in the mechanic shops or something. You get that for I think $7 to $10, the whole package. But you need it. I already used about half of it in half a year.
Yeah.
So not too expensive, but it's a cost. It's a cost factor, and you will need it. If you go with I have like kitchen towels or something, that gets expensive really, really fast. If you just use them, that's not the same price category. Get cheap paper. That's good enough.
Yeah, I think it should be available in every hardware store or supply stores.
Hardware store, Amazon, you get it like
you get them
everywhere.
Right. Then we have your personal safety.
Yes, the resin itself, if you touch it, it's toxic, and the gases that come off it are also toxic. So you need a mask, you need gloves, and when you go about and break off those supports, you don't want the resin laced supports in your eyes. So
you also don't want
safety
it in
glasses.
your eyes. So it's having some sort of face shield or mask it's not mandatory, I would say, but it's good to have it. So there are also those available to have a full face shield. So if you don't feel comfortable by wearing safety glasses, you can go those shields that cover your whole face, bottom down, and it would be good to have if working with resin. And the mask is the standard FFP 2 and 3 mask won't do it. You need a proper one with some filter on them. So most of them are the carbon filters you get. You should also get them in the hardware store. Depends on your region or country. It might need to be a dedicated store, but these are also ones used because they are Professional painters use them, airbrushers use them. You get them for certain woodworking parts where you have to work with chemicals and liquids, and so this is something that it isn't cheap, relatively speaking, because your own health isn't cheap either. It's still worth the cost, but uh, it's some upfront investment. And if you are not sure which ones to get, in the stores you can ask to also for the proper filters, because the people may know if it's for resin, if it's for painting, if it's for some other chemical fumes, because the filter classes, you might get away with the cheaper ones, don't need the very expensive ones, but
They
ask the
are.
stores what they have. Just don't buy anything cheap from certain Chinese website and supplier, because there's no real guarantee that the filters are actually working. The mask might be, but then get proper filters from somewhere else.
Yeah.
For the gloves, sorry.
The gloves need to be nitric gloves, I think
Yeah.
they're called. Because your normal gloves, the resin just seeps through. It might
Yeah.
doesn't look, but it still gets through. So you need nitric gloves.
Nitric or nitrile. So the blue ones in general, dear listener. If it's your standard first aid kit gloves won't do it, because they are not protective from chemicals, at least not very long. Those gloves usually have how to say specifications on them, how long they can persist certain chemicals and or other stuff. And so there are dedicated gloves for doing biological things, for doing working with chemicals, and they are not protecting from all chemicals. There are also different classes out there. So this is, I think, the standard blue nitric gloves are the ones you want to use with resins. They are also more expensive, thicker rubber gloves, like the long black one that go up your underarm, that most are familiar with seeing in old horror movies when the scientists wear them. They work as well, but they're usually more expensive. So it's really just something, and they can get very hot in summer. So you get like liquid in and out as you're sweating very much with them. So whatever is more comfortable for you, because there are those who don't prefer the black ones or the thick black ones over the nitric ones, because they are like not that skinny or that tight to wear. But others don't like the sweating inside, so, and they prefer the more tight fitting gloves. Right.
The only add-on I want to say is get some have the add-on with long sleeve. They go actually like half your. You can wear them with like your hand, but you can pull them down to have some of your wrist covered. That actually helps if some items drop in the washing basin and you need to reach in, that the glove doesn't get too short and you don't need to throw out the water or something. So if you have the option, get a bit longer gloves, like half your arm, so you can reach in somewhere, or and it doesn't spill over the glove. That helps.
Yeah. So then we get we want to talk a little bit about replacement parts. And so, like, the very first part that will break on your 3D printer is the screen, simply because it's a variable part. It has a limited lifespan, so it will need to be replaced once in a while. So that's a tricky one. I think it depends a little bit on the machine you have, how easy the screen is to be replaced. And it's also something that there are standard sizes out there. And it might be, if you get the special models with larger build plates or larger sizes in general, that the screen isn't a standard size but dedicated for that brand, and then it gets tricky to get replacement parts. So having a smaller printer might help in that way too, might wear out faster, but you also it's easier to get things later on. So how complicated is it to replace the build blade?
I didn't do it myself. I had the luck. The build blade broke on my friend right before he sold me the printer. So he did. So I bought the printer with a new plate and
With a new screen, sorry.
with a new screen. Right from him, and he did the work of replacement. But I've looked at the videos. There are tutorials for everything out there. You search your printer and what you want to change, and you find it. That's also a good idea before you buy a printer. Look at the tutorials on how to change those things. And they show you how complicated your repairs are that you are expecting with the printer you are buying. That tells you a lot of like, oh, look, this shiny new printer, it's a review and it's perfect and everything. But the bones of it are the repair parts. Like the screen on my Elegoo is a pretty simple change. I can order the repair parts direct from Elegoo. Costs like 100 euros. And it's effectively just loosen 2 screws, take the resin tank off, take the film out and the screen out, and plug a new one in. That on the Elegoo printers, it's pretty easy designed. I can tell you about other brands how they did design this. But what I found, the screen, a lot of them have in mind that it is a replacement part that you need to change. So they all have a more or less easy workflow around changing the screen.
So to put this in relative speaking, so we have at the beginning said the Mars 4 costs about 200 euros. The replacement screen costs 80. So, yep, the machine is sold at a discount to get you in there. So don't feel bad with other brands who have higher prices, because it's like they get you with the replacement parts at one point. But it's like don't expect things that parts are cheap to be said. It's like you not everything is that expensive, but the screen is the most essential part of the printer, and so be aware of that cost, that once or twice in the lifetime of your army printing, you are going to replace it. Right.
Yeah.
The other part is the release film.
Yes, that's much more tricky part to replace than the screen. That's the film that protects your screen, and where he shines the light through to solidify the resin on the build plate. And the resin gets then pulled off that film low. It sticks to the build plate, gets lowered again. Liquid resin comes beneath it, beneath the part you just hardened and the film, and then comes a new wave of UV light that hardens the next layer of resin, and that's like 1,000, 3,000 layers of per print. Like a 28 millimeter model has about 4,000 layers. So it's like 4,000 times that movement. And that release, that's it mounted in the tank. And you need to be careful. It's like a drum. If you hit it, it sounds like a drum. It's squished in there. I think the next shows the backside. It's screwed in there, and you need to have that gleichmäßig. English words, gleichmäßig.
Just check.
We're both sitting on a line.
Yeah, very professional, evenly.
Evenly stretched because it wouldn't release the model evenly. So
Yeah.
you can have print failures if that's not evenly released. So to screw that in and have all the way, if it's not stretched enough or strong enough, the model won't release it. The foot will just lift it and put it down, and it won't print because it won't release. And if it's too strong, it will snap off or something. Other bad things happens. So you need some evenly, and you can't make it too tough because then it won't release the model like it pulls it off the build plate. So that's a really tricky part to change. I have some replacement films, but I didn't do it myself. I just bought a new tank where that's in there.
Yeah, better safe than sorry.
Yes.
Okay, so this is an option as well. So if you're not sure about those kind of things, I'm not even sure if this is like. I just need to check what the tank costs. I think the tank is around 30
Yeah.
to 40 euros, and the films cost in a multi-bag. Also, I think you get 5 films for 30 euros, and the single tank costs also something in the range. So it's like, yeah, if you're not sure about this one, yeah, so you might spend the first package of replacement films all on trying to get it right, or you just go with a new tank if something happens. I think this is also the one part that could be most easily damaged if you're not careful, especially
Yes.
on failed prints and everything. So if you get with any sharp object near it, or try to clean it, you damage it, and then it's like, then you need to replace it.
I actually replaced it because it had a little dent in it. That's the main reason why I replaced it. There was like a broken off support, and that got pressed in, so it's a millimeter this form. But I didn't want to risk it to break it, because if that breaks during printing, that's the vat where your liquid resin is in there. If that breaks while liquid resin sits in there during your print, your printer is gone.
Yeah.
That seeps down, that seeps on the screen. The last part we talk about, that sits really like base to base on it. So that it's definitely gone. And if you're unlucky, it goes into the electronic of the printer itself, and the whole printer gets damaged. So that's a really bad part to have broken or have done a back job on it. So
yeah. So this is
a build plate.
The last part to replace is the build plate. So this is it's totally on me. For the listener, previously I mismatched the build plate in the screen. So before when I said build plate, I meant the screen. This is now we're talking about the actual build plate. This is the metal plate that sits on top where your models stick, and this is also the one that can get most easily damaged because it's where you need to remove your models from. And if your settings aren't quite right, this can get very hard, and then you scratch off metal and damage the build plate. So how bad is it to work with a damaged build plate?
It can work if the scratch isn't too deep, or the dangerous part is if this scratch gets a relief that presses on the film and damages your film. So that could be a catastrophic failure. If it's just a little dent or something, maybe it doesn't stick right. You could have your models fall off, or some parts don't print. You have like the whole model printing, but that one part didn't stick, and it's like that part didn't print. So like here and here it didn't stick, and it didn't print. Basically, so it can be risky to work with a damaged build plate, or it can be totally fine. So it depends on the severity of the damage. Small scratches are mostly fine. Some
Learning by
things
doing.
you can get out with a 1,000 grit sandpaper. You can just send it out. It's not optimal anymore or anything, but it can work. But you basically don't want to have it damaged. The best results are with an undamaged plate.
Yeah. So I think this costs also somewhere in the range between 20 and 30 euro.
Yeah,
so
something like that.
So we are now, with all the replacement parts, we are up to about, I think, 130, 140 euros in total. What can go wrong, or what need to be replaced once in a while. So yeah, almost at what you pay for a new printer if you go for the cheap one. So there's that. So dear listener, be aware, those are the additional costs that are there. Depending on how long you have the printer, you have your upfront cost of buying the printer itself. You need something to wash, you need something to clean, you need the curing machine or the UV light to cure something, and then you may need the replacement parts over time, which is especially if you buy a used printer. So a used printer might be cheap in the first place, but if you buy a, how to say, a used printer for
a heavily
100,
used one.
yeah, even if it's cheap, then you get like a 50 euro printer, and you need 150 euros in replacement parts just for the most obvious ones. You are almost there for a new printer. So this, if you don't know the guy who printed before it, or you can actually go there and watch the setup they're using, I wouldn't at the moment recommend to buy printed from someone online or off eBay, because you don't know if that thing is working and how much on you need to spend on replacement parts to get it working. So it's, especially if you're on the cheap ones. If you go for the more expensive machines or the larger ones, sorry, obviously it looks a little bit different. But well, for a Mars 4, if you don't know the condition, don't know the guy who used it, or cannot watch him print something, or show you through the machine, just avoid it and get a new one on sale, just as a personal recommendation from my side. Good. So we have the replacement parts, we have the safety, and we have your special basement setup. We want to talk about a little bit.
I started printing in December. And as I said, the resin is toxic. You don't want it where you live, so I set it up in my basement. One thing a lot of people also don't talk about is that resin likes constant temperature. So it wants about 20 to 25 degrees constant even temperature. So my basement had like 5 degrees in winter, and so I needed a heater for my printer to keep the resin in an even temperature. But the UV protection cap my printer had was too small for the heater, and there wasn't any smaller available. We tried to mount it, but that just didn't work out. So we put the UV protection away, put it in one of the big IKEA boxes, put in a silicone mat. That's a thing I can recommend. So if any spills are happening from the silicone, you get it off.
Yeah.
That's a lot of quality of life. And in that great IKEA box, I could just put my printer in and my heater next to it, and I have a closed room where he can print inside. And there's also enough space to have my refill resin bottle also inside there, so that's also preheated. That okay, I see I don't have enough resin in there. I can just refill it, and it doesn't destroy my prints or anything. That's already at temperature. And I also keep other things, syringe in there with that I use to empty the resin tank without spilling a lot. You can clean it because the syringe would be damaged if you clean it with isopropanol. And so it stays just in there, and it lives there with my replacement bottle.
Yeah, I think it's
Also
yeah.
what I
Sorry.
did there is I taped the front of the tank and also my USB stick that I use. So if any spill off happens, if I take the models out or something, that doesn't creep beneath my build plate or into my USB port. You don't want resin in there. So just tape it off with some masking tape. That helps a lot. That saved me like 3 times already,
Yeah,
where my USB stick would be gone otherwise.
yeah. That's the other point. It's like it's messy. So it's still you're working with liquids, you're working with liquid resin, and it's just a messy thing. Um, it might it might not even help to have like an UV lamp nearby so that you can cure everything that overflows, because when you cure the wrong spits or the resin on the wrong parts, you will damage your printer, and then it's just gone for good as well. Um, for the general setup, what I have also seen is, so the IKEA boxes are a good way of doing things, but then you need to put something around them to keep them like warm, isolated, and away from direct light. And the other thing that I've seen are the growing dens, um, that also work well because they are isolated, and um, but they are a little bit harder to clean, or if something really overflows and spilling, it's you just more or less throw that one away and buy a new one. So anything a little bit more sturdy helps. So whatever is more available in your region, or the stores you visit, like hardware stores will also have all kind of plastic boxes with a lid on it to seal it properly, and then it's there. So you also use the carbon filter. Big
Yeah.
recommendation. Does it really help, or is it? I've heard different things about those, the original ones for Elegoo. How is your experience with it?
Um, to be honest, I just put it in there, and it says it holds the temperature at 25 degrees. The resin I use is the Sunblue ABC like version 3, and that already is not really stinky.
Mm,
You smell it if I don't have the mask on. I don't recommend that.
yeah,
Um, but like there, I just opened it up, hold my breath, take a quick picture, closed it up, and then you smell it a little bit, so it doesn't stink up your room completely.
yeah,
It's slow smell, and I think with the carbon filter running in there, purifying it's
it
I don't
helps.
have a big wave of stinky resin films coming outside of the box. So yeah, I think the carbon filter helps there also a bit, but yeah, not. I
Yeah.
didn't print without it,
So,
so I can't
the,
tell the difference.
yeah. So, dear listener, don't print in your living space. There's this bad recommendation when people say just they want to print, they don't have the space for it. They just have a room somewhere, or as being on college or university, and then print in the bedroom or in the living room. Just this. If you have beds, get it into a bed-free environment. I have seen people putting in the spare bath or spare toilet if they have one in their house, because they often have an exhaust system. Not ideal, but better than to have it in the bedroom. But you want to have a dedicated hobby space where you can put your printer, where it's safe from any pets, safe from kids, and where it can live like carefree, still with the recommended carbon filters, exhaust systems. And also, if someone come up with the idea to use an actual exhaust system to put the fumes out into the wild, just make sure that it isn't how to say, on ground level, so that not anyone passing by your house or the space where the fumes exhaust get it directly into their face or close to it. So especially when kids playing outside your house and you have your filter out of the basement, not the best idea for that one. And so to keep things simple, the next cost about is get some enclosure. That's not that much. I think what the filter and the heater system is another
It's also
50.
like 50, yeah.
Yeah, another 50 euros.
45, 50, and the box is like 5.
10.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's also the one thing with the small printers, they fit into these boxes. So I think 5 to 10 for the box, and then it's another 10 for the silicone mat to put the printer on, and then you're good to go. So this is for the setup. Right. Then we also, you said, talked already about the resin you use. How about, because setting up your printer is a tricky thing. I mean, it sounds bad. It's like you do it once and then just check in regularly. But at the very beginning, you have to get your printer right because even if there are recommendation outside, each printer is a little bit different, because so you have to set it in, you have to tune it in, and you have to tune it for the resin you are working with. So you don't really want to change resin that often. Keep like the brand you have, keep the resin itself, the dedicated mark, what it is, and then tune in your printer with it, and just then keep those settings going that work best for you. So just because there are guidelines on the internet you can follow, but it might still need some adjustment for your machine with your settings or your environment, I want to say. So your printer, your resin, the environment you are printing in, all affect on the best setting you can have. And so you need to spend some time at the beginning to tune things or to calibrate things in. So how did this went for you, Menai?
Yeah, I've gone with the cones of calibration. That's pretty famous around 3D printing, and I've just printed them like 3 or 4 times. I also got me the Leaky slicer. There are a lot of slicers out there. None is better than the other. Just find one, pick one, learn it. I like the Leaky one, because they had resin presets. They had a resin library. That was the thing
Yeah.
for me, because I didn't want to Google around for the resin settings. They had some in there with, okay, that printed like 5 times and that worked. For the resin I used, that was a pretty new one. There wasn't a setting in there. It was only for version 2, but I got the version 3, but I converted it from the version 2 and tried it out and printed my cones of calibration. And you print them. That's a neat little print you do, and then you have some tests, like put the sword in there, look how the cones work. You have a checklist you can follow.
Yeah.
And those checklists also say what settings you need to change. I printed like 3 of them to get it really right. And I just saved this resin setting with the temperature from my heater in my package in there. And I know that that works. I can print with it. I also didn't use any other resin since then, so I'm just printing that resin, and that works for me.
Yeah. So
Um,
how expensive is the resin you use? Because this is also often a question is there are cheaper resins, there are more expensive ones, there are those in between, there are the ones that are more brittle, the ones that are more sturdy, there are others that are more soft and bendy, and I think the ABS like is from Sandals somewhere in between in all of those categories. So not the most expensive one, but also not the cheapest. It's not the most brittle one, but also not very bendy. So how you came to choose? Did you try different ones or just go off a recommendation? And
I just go off a recommendation. I didn't want the really cheap ones. A friend in my club who also 3D prints
yeah,
said, don't buy the cheap resins. They don't work, or they do work, but you're not happy with them. um, get something more expensive. I also wanted then the ABS like, so that I'm not snapping every sword off if I play with my models. That
yeah,
that was also a point. I print army to play. I don't print it for the showcase. I want to play with it. I touch those models. Those models fall off a table at
yeah,
some point, and I don't want to splitter them in 100 other parts. Okay, that breaks an arm off, that breaks a sword off. That's okay. I glue them back, but I don't want super brittle ones. So I got the ABS like resin because that's more for handling models. You have a bit less details, but with the naked eye, you don't see this difference, and not if you put it on a table, have paint over it, you don't see the difference.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, this is like printing this super detailed, super crispy model, and then you reen it with your average paint job to be locked on a table from 2 meters away. And then it's like, yeah, it's a little bit less and therefore more sturdy, works as well as the most expensive and more detailed ones. It's like
uh,
it's don't get spoofed off or turned away by those internet or Instagram bigs, because it's people who showcase stuff on the internet do it for that purpose. They don't display models, and gaming models are two different things. And someone who wants to paint, that's also not saying that people are not doing that. It's like we are mostly a gaming podcast, so I think our audience isn't about 100% into the display models. They also want to game with the models, but if you do know what you want to do with those models before you choose your resins, because if you want to get display models in there, you will choose a different one than if you want to get gaming models.
yeah. Uh, Cost wise, it's about 27 euros the liter. So it's rather on the expensive side. You can get cheaper ones, but yeah, the upper end is the heaven. You can get resin for $100 the liter.
I mean, I
Well,
can I can tell you, because I am working in the chemical industry and we are using resins for different purpose, and the the cheap one we use is about 1,000 euros per liter. So yeah, you get
yeah,
the difference in there when someone professional is doing things for industrial scale, and we don't really we used it for sample preparations and things like that. Or I mean, we had an R&D project for some special operations and processes with things, but there's a big difference. You can get, there's no upper limit on what to get. So if you say, yeah, there's the 10 euro one and the 20 euro ones, and you talk about expensive and cheap, and then you say, yep, coming from an industrial or professional side, and then you can get up to 1,000 euros for your resin, and it's like there's no difference on the cheap side anymore. It's even $100 is like still cheap compared to that one. It's
oh,
it's the difference. But yeah,
o-
for
of
the
course, but You're not spending like $1,000 on like 50 models or something like that.
Yeah.
That's not the goal of 3D printing for models. So get a resin. Don't get the cheap one. I just can repeat that recommendation of my friend there. But yeah, also look at resins. What you're willing to spend. If you print an army, I printed a whole army of Zircali and I needed like 6 kilograms of that. So that's also like 120, 150 euros, 180. If you get it with some discounts, it varies. But yeah, that's over 100 euros alone on the resin, and you will lose something to some spills, that what sticks on the outside. So the whole kilo there, or the whole liter on resin, doesn't go into moles. You will
Yeah.
lose something. You get like 900 milliliters into models, and the rest will go somewhere else, in your washing basin or something else. And yeah, don't get too expensive with it. Don't go cheap, but don't go too expensive. Take
Yeah.
the middle way, or otherwise it will go crazy from the price, and you reap no benefits from 3D printing your models instead of just buying them because your resin is more
If they are
expensive.
available. Yeah.
Then
yeah.
just buy the models.
Keep it simple. Also get something that is available in your region, because it's not we have listeners all over the world, so it might be something that is easier to get in Europe than in the USA, and the other way around. And then there's Australia, which I don't know which brand or supply they struggle with or not. So it's usually often get something that is available on your side, get something that is in your price range, so not the cheapest one, because you might regret it or have more work to do than necessary. Also, don't get into the most expensive one because you don't need it. And so there's this average prices. I think those in the 20 to 30 euro range per liter are mostly about right for what we use it. And yeah, and the brand, and go with what it's available in your region. And the ABS like resins, as we have said, are the more sturdy ones for gaming. If you want to go into a scale model or showcase models, someone else might be better.
Yeah, and also one thing to say there: don't be brand locked. Like, oh, I have an illegal printer, I need to buy the illegal resin. You don't need to look all the brands through it. They all have pros and cons, and pick the right one for you that's available for you. Don't be brand locked. They can work.
Yeah.
Every printer can work with every other resin. They're all
Especially if you
compatible.
use the non-brand slicer. I mean, there are some brands have their own slicers, usually the more expensive or the professional ones, and then obviously they have tuned their slicers to work with their own resin, and then it's a much more work to get any off-brand done. So this might be also the trade-off if you go with the more professional machines. But they are not for hobbyists, they are for professionals, and therefore they have different advantages. And a professional company will live with the disadvantages of not switching around their own preferred resin, but just buy the ones that were from that company. Also, don't be for the brand. We talking here about an Elegoo printer because Menai has one. You can go with any other cheap one or small ones. Just it's not a preferred machine. It's just the one we got. So it's not a direct recommendation to just buy only that one and not something else for the brand. Right. So what else do we need? We have the scrapping materials, or let's call it that way.
Yeah,
You need some spatulas.
After you got your models on the plate, you also need to get them off the plate. Don't and every 3D printing starter kit and everything comes with the metal scraper that's really stiff and everything. Don't use that. You will damage your build plate with that thing. You use a plastic one, or what I find works for me the best. I found that in an Leichi tutorial. Shout out there. Found it there. I use clay spatula. That is a metallic one, but it's a real thin one. You can get another model there, and it's flexible and bendable. So before you damage your build plate, it just bends away, and you can work it beneath it
Yeah.
because it's really thin. And I get my models off with that relatively easy. So I never had problems with sticking models.
Yeah. So it's basically to choose a material that is softer than your build plate. So be it a metal spatula that is thin and flexible, or the plastic ones, because just something that is softer than your build plate, then it's less likely that you damage that one instead of going with a thick stainless steel, cheap, from whatever you got them, if it's default one or you bought something long ago for something different. So right there we have the ultrasonic cleaner you got. Like this is the
yeah.
So you got them with your package, but it's looking up. This is
with my package from my friend. My friend used it for cleaning the models, and he just gave it to me because he only used it for the models. That's actually a big one. I could put the whole print plate in there and clean it all at once before I pull my models off.
Yeah.
So
you think with the hollowed models, the ultrasonic bath is better than just regular cleaning, or do you recommend it? Let's put it that way, or is it still fine to use something else?
I mean, if you hollow the models, you really have the problem. There will be always resin on the inside, and the wash and cleaning box is just a big swirl that swirls water around the model and doesn't go in the holes. You on visible parts, you just want like a millimeter hole, and yeah, there is the resin inside, and the cleaning station that just swirls the water around the surface doesn't go in there. And the ultrasonic one also cleans it on the inside. You still need to clean it out afterward. I use a syringe to just press water inside and wash it out with some clean water. But the ultrasonic cleaner helps a lot because it scrubs the inside of the model, to say it the best way, and loosens the resin inside, and then you wash it out with the syringe like 1 or 2 times, and you get all the resin out from the inside, because you don't want liquid resin inside of your models, because it seeps out. It destroys the hardened resin that you printed. You painted, you pasted, you printed it. It's a beautiful model. It stands there on the table, and half a year later, the liquid resin breaks through and destroys your model from the inside, and it starts breaking.
Yeah, I think this is also the one thing that is the main downside of buying resin printed models, as you don't know if the seller treated it right, and if it's he printed it hollow to save on resin and then didn't wash it properly, it can break open, not just destroy a model, but you also then have liquid resin over everything else that is in the same case or same shelf. And so like buying this is the main risk you have with buying resin printed models. So if you do this, not just because if someone is cheap doesn't necessarily mean they're still good, because when someone is cheaper than anyone else, they will try to save money on those things, either to save work hours or to save in materials. So it's like buy from trusted sources, or from others that they do their work well. best would always be to get someone in a club that is printing as well and buy from them first instead of over some eBay sellers, or get really those with a good recommendation, and usually avoid the very cheap ones. Not saying that the cheap ones can't be good, but it's usually, if someone is really cheaper than everyone else selling 3D printed models, there's a reason for it. And having damaged models, even if they are cheap, they are still damaged models.
Yeah. Just one warning: you need to use water washable resin if you want to use the ultrasonic cleaner. Don't put isopropanol alcohol in an ultrasonic cleaner. Don't. You will explode. Don't.
It's not worth it. I mean, you can, like, the one thing that works with cleaning is to have an alcohol water mix in general. So, like, I don't know if it's really working with the hollowed out models, as I haven't worked with that one or tried this one. But usually, if you want to have alcohol in an ultrasonic bath or something like that, you make a mixture of 1 part alcohol, so isopropanol, not ethanol, not the standard one. So isopropanol, 1 part in a plus 9 parts water, just to get that little bit down the surface tension or reduce surface tension of the water and get a little bit of alcohol in, and that it's safe to use. I think up to 50% depends on the ultrasonic you have. Some ones are rated for use with alcohol, others are not, but don't do pure isopropanol or alcohol into anything that gets that ultrasound or warm. Right.
Yeah.
And so this is usually isopropanol. You can get them off the hardware stores. You get that one off eBay. You can buy small or large amounts. It's not that expensive. In our case, for resin printing, I would say go with the pure one if it's available, because there are already pre-mixed ones ready to buy. That is often the cleaning solutions for plastics that are, I think, 50% isopropanol, then with some additives inside, some detergent and water, which you can pretty much make on your own anyway if you get the pure one. Just in case, if you already have isopropanol, that also works as a paint stripper from plastic models. So
Yeah.
it's worth getting one at least a little bit in the hobby in general, because removing paint from old models or second-hand models is always nice, and isopropanol works there as well.
Yeah. So on one point on the resins, maybe there are 2 big groups of resins. One is water washable, so you can wash it with regular water, and other ones that you only can clean off your models with isopropanol. That can get really expensive if you need a lot of isopropanol. I use the water washable, and just have a spray for isopropanol to clean my tools, to clean the build plate. Oh, I have a spill, I spray some isopropanol on that and wipe it away with the paper. So that's why I that's my use of isopropanol. I use it for cleaning, to keep everything clean, but not for cleaning the models or washing the models of the resin.
Yeah. And in case you also have Spritze, so now, oh God.
Syringe.
Yeah. A syringe. You use a large plastic syringe. This is about 50 mil.
Yeah, that's a 60
mil.
mil.
That's the mil. So these are usually either in the, I think you also get them in the hardware store.
You can get them in the hardware store.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
So this helping. So these tools help to either get resin or leftover resin out of the tanks. Or you can flush the hollow models if you get a small metal tip on it, to use the drain holes you have on hollow models to wash the inside if you don't have an ultrasonic bath. So this is something you just use. I think they are also not that expensive, so they are also usable, wearable parts. You can don't
like
need to be that
free
careful.
for 10 or something like that.
Yeah.
With everything. And yeah, that's like I think 1.1 millimeter tip, and I just make a 1.2 millimeter hole, so I get comfortable inside with the metal tip, and I can just flush the whole side underwater. Otherwise, you have it in the whole room. Hold the model underwater.
Yeah.
If you press there in with the syringe, and you have a really high pressure from the syringe that presses everything out inside there. And I have most times like 2 or 3 holes, and I spray in from every angle and look that I get the most of the resin out.
Yeah.
So
those are these helpful tools, not necessary, but something like this. So I guess if you get to the right store, they will recommend you all cleaning stuff and have everything ready or there as well. Otherwise, search a little bit. Also, get your own process, get used to what you need, and we just make recommendations here. It's when you find something else that is more useful and more helpful for how you work, it's perfectly fine. But this is a starting point. Those cheap supplies help a lot.
Tell us if you have something that we miss. Put it in the comments.
Yeah, absolutely. So also a small funnel to put resin from a tank back into a bottle helps. And so this is like now we want to talk the basket from the original Mercury. So this is also something the washing station has. They come with a metal cage inside. So this is when you buy something, just a regular bucket or chamber to clean your stuff, you won't have that one. So this is really handy to get, so you don't need to get your hands into the dirty water. You get this metal cage with the wash and clean as well. So just put them in the cage, put that one down, clean it, and put them with the cage out. And as we are at it, the last point, collect your wastewater. This is not something that you cannot throw them in the regular sink and let other people deal with it. Collect your drainage water. You can actually get an UV lamp in to cure uncured resin, but chemicals will still be resolved. And depending on where you are, your country or region, the community center or the town center might take over hazard waste, which uncured resin or cured resin chemicals in water are. They may do it for free. You may have to pay a fee. This depends heavily on where you are. Just don't throw it away in the regular sink. Don't get it out in the garden and throw it away out there. Just collect it. So this might be also something to consider at the very beginning if you start. Can you treat your wastewater, or what will the wastewater treatment cost you? Because there's also those regions or communities when you live in a certain part of a town that they have the drainage system monitored, and if one of them throws wastewater in there, everyone has to pay a higher fee for the wastewater treatment. So they will take care of it, but you will pay for it as well. This is just, and stinky wastewater with resin in it can be a problem in hot summers. It can also start to cure in places where you don't want it, and then block the drainage and get into more problems than it's worth it. So please collect the wastewater, don't throw it away, get it to your hazard waste center, wherever it is. And if the fee you have to pay in your country for wastewater treatment is too much for your liking, 3D printing might not be the hobby for you.
Yeah. For my usage of the 3D printer, just to give you about some numbers, I've produced about 10 liters of wastewater that I had to get rid of in about half a year. There can be more, there can be less on how much you use the printer, how often you change the water from the cleaning. But you need to do it regularly or it won't wash off. You're just swirling dirty water around, so you need to clean it off or change the water. And yeah, I've produced about 10 liters in a half a year. From my end, as I said, that number came very highly. You're blinking.
Yeah, my camera. So it's the one point there is a thunderstorm approaching for quite a while now. That's why those who watch on YouTube might have seen that once at the beginning my face was highlighted because the sun was shining outside, and now it's getting dark. And because there's a thunderstorm approaching, and my webcam wasn't yet deciding if it should switch to night mode or not. So because they were blinking. So yeah, sorry about that one. So it's like weather is currently very swingy at the moment. So, and we're already almost half an hour in. So we just want to cover one little topic, and it is doing your own supports. And because there are this problem with pre-supported models that are, how to say, over supported.
Yeah.
Tell us your story.
So there, you can buy pre-supported models. Those models you just put into your slicer, put it on the blade wherever you like it, and say go slice it and put it in your printer. The problem is those manufacturers of those models need to consider every printer, every resin, and it has to print. So they put in a lot of supports. And if I mean a lot of supports, I mean a lot of supports.
Yeah.
If you do your calibrations on your printer and do some experimenting with the angles you can support, you can find a lot about your printer, and you can really save on supports. Supports is resin that you need to print, basically. And if you have more support than model, it's not worth printing. So learning your own supports. I basically do an auto support. I have looked on my cones of calibration, my overhangs, and I calibrated my automatic supports to have those parameters, to consider those parameters, and they give me a pretty good result. And I just need, those programs show you this is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem. And you just need to go over like 20 points on your model where there's really a problem, and you look it over and place some supports manually there, and you're done in like 10 minutes a model. And you have like half the support the pre-supported model is. The problem is if models are over-supported and you have really fine models. The YouTube watchers see that I have a ghost there that's a really thin dress. You see it, it's shining through. That's under a millimeter, the dress. And it should be a ghost with some really wavy, spiky hair out there. And every hair tip got like 2 or 3 supports. And as I tried to pull it off, I just ripped the head off the model. And that's still in there, and it's still finicky to get the rest of the head out there. And I understand why it's so hard supported, because it's so thin. It's a fine model. But there are better ways to support that model, I think, because it's all on the visible side supported. I really don't like this pre-support you see there, because all supports are on the visible side. So you need to clean off the support side. If you don't do it, you see it on the finished model, even 1 meter on the table away.
Yeah.
And there are just a lot of supports. Learn to orient your models. There are YouTube tutorials out there. Just
Yeah.
watch them. I don't want to go into details here. Just orienting them and supporting them yourself basically brings better results for your printer because you're honed in on that setup. So you can produce a better support setup. And it costs you less resin. So the cost
Yeah.
also goes down. It just costs you like 10 minutes of time if you're fast.
Yeah. So it
More,
costs you a
more
lot
or
of
less.
time to learn it at the beginning, but once you got
Yes.
it, it's faster, it's cheaper to make, and gives you better results. So this is like also part of the tuning process we mentioned at the beginning. It's just you can use any pre-supported model out there. If it's guaranteed to print on your printer, it will be over-supported. It might damage the model when you try to remove the supports. It might not look that pretty because the supports leave those dots behind. And if it's something that is supported for your printer, or the creator mentions it that your printer is the one tested to work with the supports chosen, still might not work perfect with your specific setup because it's not the right temperature, or you don't have not a fresh printer setup, but a used one, and all those small little things we talked in the beginning. So it might be.
Heck, it has the false humidity because it just rained 10 minutes ago, and it's
Yeah.
it's a different setup than before.
It's at least this is reasonable as long as soon as we start talking about moon phases being affecting printing, then it's getting only working on every Sunday after a full moon and stuff like that. No,
That sounds like a Diablo 4 loot table.
Yeah.
Only prints on full moons without rain or something.
Yeah. So yeah, it's best is if you have the Resin printer, if you have everything tuned in, find your place to set it up, find the resin you want to use, all the settings are right, and then you need to find the right amount of supports, the right angle for the models on your printer, and what works for you. And once you have all those kind of things, it's an actually fast process, and then you can get an army done in quite some time, and then printing will be faster than painting. To get to that point might take a while, depending if you're into it or not. And you may realize during the process that this hobby isn't for you, and it's better to get someone else printing for you instead doing it on your own, which is perfectly fine. It's not every task isn't suited for everyone. And like for me, I don't have a resin printer because it's simply just too messy. Like, but how to phrase it? I have already to deal with messy stuff at work, so I want my hobby to be something different. This is just on me, and some people might relate to it, but this is so that's why I avoid doing those kind of things.
Yeah.
Right. So 1.5 hours. So I hope you enjoyed this and found this little guide or little starting point a little bit helpful. If you have any further questions, you can always leave a comment here on YouTube, on Spotify. Join our Discord and talk to Menai directly if you have any questions on how to start and things like that. So we are always helpful and supporting. And any last words from your side, tips and tricks from the beginners?
Don't be scared. Look it up. Inform yourself. Resin printing maybe sounds scary with all we talked about, but it isn't scary. Inform yourself. Get a clear workflow in, and then it works. Don't overcomplicate it. And just to give you a time scale, how fast you can step an army out of it. I started on the 23rd of December. The last December, and on the 27th of January we had a tournament to celebrate the 4th edition, and yeah, I played Zircali on the tournament, so a bit over 30 days. I with calibration and fully painted, I played the tournament. So if you edit, you can
Yeah. To
get an army out fast.
to be fair, means 2 weeks Christmas holiday in Austria, so
Yeah.
this might be
Yeah.
also a good recommendation in here. If you want to get into resin printing, take some days off. Don't buy the printer and then just 1 hour in the evening after work. If you buy it, take your time, takes maybe some time off. Look out to have a free weekend or something, and set things up. Do not hurry into it and just take your time. Get some free time into it to get it working and experimenting. So, right. For anything else. So I hope, dear listener, you enjoyed this episode. And if you want more of those kind of things, let us know. As I already said, FDM printing will get another episode, and maybe we will cover other hobby tasks like airbrushing or working sculpting with green stuff, and all those kind needle things that are helpful for starting Kings of War, Warpath, or Dead Zone. And wherever you're listening, I wish you a good morning, day, or night, and goodbye.
Bye.